Limitations of Speech Throughout the World by Jacob. My research question is, how has the freedom of speech been compromised in America, as well as in other countries, by the media or governmental policies and beliefs? This topic's connection to the stimulus material comes through Bob Dylan's Blown in the Wind when he says, "Yes, and how many years can a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea?" This directly correlates with the problem overseas because for decades now, speech has been suppressed in countries such as North Korea and China. Also, from the letter from Birmingham jail by Martin Luther King Jr., when he says, "Perhaps it's easy for those who have never felt the stinging darts of segregation." This applies with the problem in America, which is safe spaces, the goal of these safe spaces is to protect the people using them from hearing the other side or opposing views, or as King puts it, these stinging darts. So the problems in America, as I said before, are safe spaces in the college campus. And according to Merriam-Webster, a safe space is defined as a place, as on a college campus, intended to be free of bias, conflict, criticism, or potentially threatening actions, ideas, or conversations. And according to Ryan Pickett, who's a strategic board chair for a nonprofit dedicated to ending the stigma about mental health, safe spaces are said to have a powerful therapeutic purposes for those who enter them. So the rules of safe spaces are that you cannot guilt trip, you cannot pass judgment, and you cannot assume anybody's motives. And if these rules are broken, or if someone does anything remotely close to these things, you're escorted from the conversation area and not allowed back in that safe space to express your opinion. So the problem with this is that you cannot oppose anyone's view. And this is directly going against the fundamental right to speech, which is in the American Constitution, and this is a problem in America, and this is going directly against what we hold so dear. So this isn't just a problem in the United States. According to USA Today, North Korea, China, Britain, Germany, and Turkey all suppress their people's right to speak in some way or form. Now, more specifically in North Korea and China. North Korea and China are both communist run, and the government controls media and news. And this means that if anyone has a problem with the information being given to them, they can't express their ideas because, according to James P. McGovern, who is a member of the House of Representatives, the only people in China who can publish criticisms of or opinions contrary to that of the Communist Party are senior members of that Communist Party. So unless you're a high-ranking official, you cannot say anything about your government or way of thinking. So this is also a problem in the UK. One prime example is Mark Meechan, who's a YouTuber who was arrested for a supposed hate crime. And according to Ben Stein, who's a conservative writer, he was arrested for the incitement of anti-Semitism in a grossly offensive video. Now, since he was expressing his views, there's nothing wrong with this because if he believes that he's allowed to say it, of course it's wrong to incite anti-Semitism, but if he believes that he's allowed to say it, the only thing that would make this illegal is if he called others to act illegally. So if he said, go out and hurt the Jewish community in some way or form, that is illegal because he's calling others to action. So this is a graph of the percentage in each of these countries who believe that limitations should be set on speech. The orange shows which population believes that it should be suppressed, and the green is the opposite. So as you see, Germany, Italy, Poland have the majority of people believing that limitations should be set to speech in some way or form. Even countries such as France, Spain, and the UK all have a high percentage in their population who believe that limitations should be set. So my first solution is cutting foreign loans. Now, the United States loans about $49.87 billion every year to other countries. And on this graph, it shows that since 2010, the American loaning system has risen by about 0.4%, meaning the United States is giving more money to other countries in these current years. And these projections are going through 2020, meaning that throughout 2020, other countries are expecting more money from the United States. So the pros and cons of this are that it's forceful, meaning that countries would have to choose between needed money from the United States or upholding human rights. Also, it's long-lasting because unless a country does not need these loans anymore, you wouldn't really be able to say anything to the U.S. and you wouldn't be able to go against this policy. The cons of this is that it would take time to implement. There would be obvious backlash from basically any country that this applies to, and that it wouldn't apply to all countries, meaning Britain doesn't necessarily need the loans from the United States to operate. Solution 2, this applies to safe spaces, and that is to make them just completely legal. And this is forcing students to grapple with unpleasant facts and avoid self-deception. This is also governmental action, so once this law is put into place, there's no leeway, so it is illegal, and this would completely solve the problem. Pros of this are that it gets rid of the problem, obviously, and it forces others to listen to opposing views. The cons of this is that it would obviously take time to get through Congress legislation, and it would be hard to implement because the government can't be in every college forcing this law. In conclusion, I believe that you need both of these solutions to completely solve the problem in America as well as in other countries because they're both forceful. One is cutting budget, which is forcing other countries to actually uphold human rights, and the other one is lawful, meaning that there's no leeway in America when it comes to a law. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Could you tell me what evidence you gathered that you didn't use, and why did you choose not to use it?
Well, I gathered a lot of evidence about the news in America because I think that's where this could start, because information comes through the news, and if the news is biased or opinionated, then of course that would influence people's speech. And I didn't include that because I believe that the information about safe spaces was enough to prove the point of.
Okay, and if you had more time, what other research would you conduct related to this topic?
I'd probably go into more perspective about college students actually using these safe spaces, or why other countries are limiting their people's right to speak. I didn't really go into this, or I briefly went into it, but I could definitely go into more detail about it.
Okay.
And here's what I would do.